Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to tackle a really powerful idea, one that helps explain everything from overfished oceans and insane traffic jams to why, online conversations can get so toxic. It's called the tragedy of the commons.
And let's just dive right in with this pretty dramatic quote from the ecologist Garrett Hardin. Back in his famous 1968 essay, he basically laid out this chillingly logical roadmap to disaster, and it's really defined how we think about shared resources ever since.
So to really get a handle on this tragedy, we're going to start small, not with some global crisis, but with a simple shared pasture, just like Hardin did.
Okay, so imagine a big, lush green field. This is our commons. A whole village of herders uses it to graze their cattle. The key thing? There are no fences, and everyone has access. It's a classic shared resource, totally open to all.
Now this is where it gets really interesting. Let's break down the thinking here, which seems totally logical, but, as you'll see, is ultimately destructive. From one herder's point of view, adding one more cow is a fantastic deal. Why? Because they get all the profit from that animal. The downside, the field getting a little more chewed up, is a teeny tiny cost that's shared by everyone. So for that one person, the personal gain is huge, and the personal cost is almost nothing. The only rational choice? Add another cow.
And you can probably see where this is going. This individual logic, when repeated by every single herder, leads straight to a collective disaster. And that disaster has a formal name.
So here's the crucial point. A bunch of perfectly rational, smart, individual choices can add up to a completely irrational, terrible outcome for the group. Every herder makes the same smart decision to add another cow, and then another, and another, until that shared pasture is completely destroyed. The freedom that the commons offered, well, it brings ruin to all.
Now, this tragedy doesn't just happen randomly. It relies on these 5 specific conditions. First, the resource is finite. There's only so much grass, right? It also has to be rivalrous in consumption, which is just a fancy way of saying that one person's use takes away from others. So one cow eating grass means there's less grass for the next cow. The resource is also non-excludable, meaning it's really hard to stop anyone from using it. And of course, the whole engine of this thing is individuals acting rationally to maximize their own personal gain. When you get all these conditions together, you've got the perfect recipe for a tragedy.
All right, so let's jump from that old-timey pasture to the 21st century world, because this same logic is playing out all around us in some of our biggest challenges. Think about international waters. They're a massive global commons. Every single fishing fleet has this powerful incentive to catch as many fish as they can, as fast as they can, before another fleet gets them. And the result? A catastrophic decline in global fish stocks. It's the pasture problem, but on a global scale. You ever been stuck in a traffic jam and just thought, why is this happening? Well, that's the tragedy of the commons. Each driver, you, me, everyone, individually chooses to use the road to save time. But when we all do it together, we deplete the shared resource of moving traffic, creating gridlock for absolutely everyone.
And what about our atmosphere? It is the ultimate global commons. The benefits of pollution, like, say, cheap energy, are often local and immediate. But the costs? The costs of a changing climate are absolutely devastating, and they're shared by the entire world, and by generations that aren't even here yet.
This even applies to our digital world, which is wild to think about. A social media platform is a shared commons, a commons of attention and hopefully civil conversation. But when users post really inflammatory stuff just to maximize their personal engagement to get more likes and shares, they end up depleting that shared resource of productive dialogue, making the whole platform worse for everybody.
So it's a pretty bleak picture, right? It kind of seems like any shared resource is just doomed. And for a long time, that pessimistic view from Hardin really dominated how we thought about this. But, and this is a huge but, here's the crucial twist. The tragedy is not inevitable. And we know this thanks to the incredible real-world research of a Nobel laureate named Elinor Ostrom. She showed us a completely different path.
Ostrom made this one simple distinction that completely reframes the entire problem. She pointed out that Hardin's famous pasture, it wasn't really a commons in the way we think about it. It was a lawless, open-access resource, a total free-for-all. What Ostrom found by studying actual communities all over the world is that people have been successfully managing common property for centuries. And the key difference? The users themselves create, monitor, and enforce their own rules for using it sustainably. It's not a free-for-all, it's a community-managed system.
And this is brilliant because it shows there isn't just one solution. There's a whole toolkit of strategies. So one path is privatization. You just turn the common pasture into privately owned plots. Now each owner has a direct incentive to take care of their own land. Another way is top-down regulation. A central authority, like the government, steps in and sets rules for everyone, like fishing quotas. But that third path, the one Ostrom really brought to light, is community governance. That's where the users themselves work together to create their own rules, sustainably managing the resource for the long-term good of the whole group.
So what should you take away from all this? Well, hopefully, it's a new lens for looking at some of the world's most complex challenges. The tragedy of the commons isn't just some old theory from the 60s. It's a constant, living tension in our modern lives.
At its heart, it all boils down to this fundamental tension we have to navigate. In almost every part of society, we face this choice. Do we optimize for our own immediate benefit, right now, or do we work together to build something that lasts, something sustainable for everyone in the long run?
And that really leaves us with a final and pretty critical question. The number and scale of our shared commons, from global data sets to the climate itself, they're only getting bigger. The future isn't about trying to avoid commons, it's about getting much, much better at governing them. So the real question is, how are we going to choose to do it?